Dynamic effort for raw lifters and for the bench press. Always use accommodating resistance. Before we even get into a west side conjugate debate, this has carryover because it trains force output. Let me explain why. So, when you're always maxing out, obviously the sport in powerlifting is to lift the heaviest, correct? Correct. That's maximum force output, correct? Correct. So that is slow speed, but it's still speed, it's force output. If I have 135 pounds on this bar, I need to push a force output of 135.1 pounds, or 200 pounds, or 500 pounds. I need to push something greater than the load. This trains your force output. It trains your speed. You need both to develop higher force output. I tell a difference big time in my sticking point with this. You'll see, you don't want to ever use a weight on here that will show you your sticking point. You want to be able to push directly through your sticking point every single rep. These are always low reps. With explosive movements, you generally want to stick below a cumulative of like anywhere from 30 to 40 reps. Generally like 20 to 25 is like your sweet spot for explosive movement. Rate of fatigue is a little higher, it's type 2B fiber. So it does fatigue a little bit quicker. But when you train that force output, it's more repeatable. If I just went heavy 3 days a week on bench, what would happen? Law of accommodation kicks in. I would actually start to regress, and that's with any sort of training. If you do the same thing every time, you regress. So this one provides a good variation so that you don't always have to go heavy. And two, it makes it more repeatable. Although I'm training my maximum force output here, I don't have that maximum load on there. My central nervous system can recover, my muscles can recover, it's easier on joints. So honestly, this is like a warm-up to a hypertrophy day for me as a raw lifter, rather than a primary on a speed day as an equipped lifter, if that makes sense. Still trains your force output. You never want to use a weight that will show you your sticking point. If you do these and on your 8th or 10th set, your sticking point starts to show, drop the weight 5 pounds. Push through every single time. Speed is defined in the sports world as 0.7 meters per second or faster. What that translates to is about a second, eccentric and concentric per rep. So if you can go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, you're in the realm of speed. If you can't do 3 reps in 3 seconds, you're not in that realm. Your percentage is probably a little too high. Gauge your weight by those 2 factors. Generally start with bench press between 30 and 35%. With some raw lifters, depending on your build and depending on the grip you're using this, which you should train all 3 grips with, I've seen some people be able to do speed work as high as 45%. Those are wide grip benchers. You know, they're built very, very well for benching. So generally, the longer armed you are, like myself, the lower percentage you'll want starting out with speed work. So I'm just going to show you 3 speed reps, what they're going to look like, what they need to look like, and keep your rest period between 30 and 60 seconds absolute tops. I would try to shoot for 30 to 45. So here are 3 proper explosive reps in the bench press. Always use chain or band. Don't ever use straight weight for bench. You're not training the fatigue curve correctly. So. That's about the speed you want to push. It's like a maximum effort, but with speed, rather than maximum effort with weight, if that makes sense. Your mindset when you go into these lifts needs to be destroy. You need to destroy every rep. This is not a slow, controlled hypertrophy, get a pretty muscle lift. This is maximum force output on a minimal load. You're training your speed, you're training your bar path, and it carries over. It does carry over even as a raw lifter. So that will be an entire separate video, but that is the proper execution of a dynamic bench press, and that's why you would use it in your training. Boom.